Hello students, welcome to another class on the short story The Scarecrow. In our last class students we got to know that Mriganko Babu, while he was waiting for his driver Sudhi's arrival in that desolate area, he was very shocked to notice that the scarecrow which he had noticed on the western side of the road, it was transforming into a human being. And it was in fact approaching towards him, and that made Mriganko Babu really very terrified. The scarecrow came towards him and it was addressing Mriganko Babu as Babu, and that made a tremor run through Mriganko Babu's whole body. The scarecrow, in fact, it had been attracting Mriganko Babu's attention from the very beginning. The shirt, specially, which the scarecrow was wearing, the red and black printed shirt, it was making Mriganko Babu remember someone. Okay, he remembered that he had seen that shirt long back. In fact, he had seen that shirt worn by someone who was very acquainted to him, and then he could not but he could was unable to exactly remember who that person was. But while he was waiting for Sudhi's arrival, his mind was totally focused on the scarecrow. He could not divert the mind from the scarecrow. And then he realized that the scarecrow slowly, the details that has been given here, okay, that his head had become smaller, the hands had been lowered, and in place of one bamboo pole, there were two bamboo poles which formed the legs of the scarecrow, and the scarecrow seemed to have tucked in a dhoti, and with that it was approaching towards Mriganko Babu, and that too not in a very confident gait, okay, not in a perfect gait, but it was limping and coming towards Mriganko Babu, and that made Mriganko Babu very tensed, or you may say very terrified. Okay, now let us continue. Babu, a tremor shot through Mriganko Babu's body. The scarecrow that actually spoken with a human voice. The scarecrow had spoken with a human voice. Okay, it was speaking. How can that be possible? What was happening before Mriganko Babu's eyes? It is not that he was a superstitious person who was going to believe in all these unnatural things, okay? But that was something which happened before his eyes. He could not deny that, okay? It came and it was speaking to him in a human voice, and he had recognized it. It was the voice of Aviram, who had been Mriganko Babu's servant. Okay, that you have to underline whose voice it was. Mriganko Babu could clearly remember the voice, okay, in which the scarecrow was speaking to him. And that was the voice of his servant Aviram. He could clearly remember that. Mriganko Babu's servant, his village used to be somewhere in this region. He remembered that his village was in that particular region where his car had got stranded. Mriganko Babu had once asked him where he came from, and he had said that his village was next to Mankar. Mriganko Babu could recall that once he had asked his his servant Aviram where he came from, where his home was originally. Then Aviram had told him that his village was next to Mankar. Why? Mankar was the name of the station that came before Panagar. Now see, now we get to know Panagar. We have already come to know the name of this place. Panagar was the place where Sudhir had gone to bring petrol, and Mankar was the name of the station that came before Panagar. That means the place where they had got stranded, it was none other than Mankar. Mankar was exactly the place where Mriganko Babu and Sudhir got stranded. Clear, students? That you have to remember. Okay, don't forget the names of the places. Which are the names that we have come across so far? Durgapur. Durgapur was the place to which Mriganko Babu had gone with his driver Sudhir to attend a cultural function. Then Kolkata. Kolkata is Mriganko Babu's hometown. Then we have come to know about Panagar. Panagar is the place where Sudhir had gone to bring petrol from. Then now we have come to know about Mankar. Mankar is the the station that came before Panagar. Okay, Mankar, Panagar, these places are on the way from Durgapur to Kolkata. Clear? Terrified, Mriganko Babu took a few steps backward and stood leaning heavily against a car. Mriganko Babu was terrified. You just imagine, students, if you fall in such a situation. Not a single person was to be seen nearby. The only companion that Mriganko Babu had, Sudhir, he had also gone to fetch petrol. And what time it was? It was the time of dusk. And dusk is considered to be very ominous. And at the time, he noticed that Scarecrow coming into life, approaching towards him and addressing him as Babu. And on top of that, that voice was so familiar to him. And it was none other than his old servant Abhiram's voice. Mriganko Babu was so terrified that he was moving backward. Okay, and he was leaning heavily against a car. Abhiram was now much closer, standing only just 10 yards away. Abhiram was also going forward. Mriganko Babu moving backward. Abhiram was going forward. That means he was going closer to Mriganko Babu. And there was only a gap of 10 yards between them. A gap of just 10 yards between both the persons. Can you recognize me, Babu? He asked. Okay, the scarecrow in the form of Abhiram asked, Can you recognize me, Babu? Mriganko Babu mustered all his courage and said, You are Abhiram, aren't you? Mriganko Babu mustered means he tried to gather all the courage that he had in him. And he was telling, You are Abhiram, aren't you? Yes. So you did recognize me, even after all these years. The scarecrow was telling, You recognize me, I'm happy after so many years. Aviram looked no different from an ordinary normal man. Perhaps that was why Mriganko Babu could find the courage to speak. Okay, that is an important point. Mriganko Babu, see, he was not running away or he didn't faint in fear. He was speaking. Ultimately, they were engaged in a conversation. Why could Mriganko Babu so normally talk to Aviram? The reason is that Aviram did not look very weird. He did not look so scary. He looked like an ordinary normal man. Generally, students, what happens in your films? How are these supernatural creatures, these ghosts, how are they represented? Either they have eyes which are very terrifying, or they are totally a white, you may say it's a kind of white structure, or sometimes it is said, no, we all believed in that. It's a superstitious belief that the feet of the ghosts are inverted. That kind of thing is shown in the movies. But here you see the ghost. Here is a ghost you have to call, because Scarecrow coming into life. Obviously, it's not a human being, it's something different, but the appearance was very, very normal. And that made Mriganko Babu gather the courage to speak to him or engage in a conversation with him. Okay, he was speaking like a normal man. He, in fact, looked like a normal man. There was anything scary about the whole structure. Okay, the scarecrow in the form of Aviram. You did a lot for me. Yes, he said. So you recognize me, even after all these years. Aviram looked no different from an ordinary normal man. Perhaps that was why Mriganko Babu could find the courage to speak. Yes, he said. It was your shirt. That reminded me of you. Didn't I buy that shirt? Then Mirango Babu was also opening up, and he's telling, yes, I did recognize. And he admitted what he had felt before. What did Mriganko Babu feel when he saw the scarecrow? He felt that the shirt was so familiar to him. So now he could correlate the things, okay? So he is telling that, yes, it was your shirt that reminded me of you. Didn't I buy that shirt for you? Actually, it was Mriganko Babu who had bought that shirt for Sudhir. Okay, so that is why he remembered the shirt so much. Okay, it was so much there in his memory. It was etched in his memory. Okay, Yes, that's right. You did a lot for me, Babu. But why did it all have to end so badly? I was perfectly innocent. Why didn't you believe me? Aviram was telling, yes, you did a lot for me. He's admitting, okay, with gratitude, he's telling that you have done a lot for me. You have helped me a lot. But everything ended in a very bad note, so badly. I was innocent. He was trying to say something, okay? He was trying to justify something, and he's trying to project him as an innocent creature, an innocent person. So he's telling that I was perfectly innocent. Why didn't you believe me? Huh? What made you disbelieve in me? Why didn't you believe me? That was a question that Aviram was posing before Mriganko Babu. That means obviously there has to be some story added to that. What was it? What made Mriganko Babu not believe in Aviram? And what ended so badly? What was that incident? Okay, and why does Aviram tell that he was totally innocent? Something must be the matter. So here we are going to know about that. Mriganko Babu recalled what had happened 3 years ago. Please underline, students, 3 years. Whenever you get the facts and figures, you have to remember them very clearly. So Mriganko Babu is telling that yes, he could recall, okay, he could remember very clearly what had happened 3 years back. Aviram had worked for his family for 20 years. Just imagine, students, 20 years is not a matter of joke. 20 long years you're serving in someone's place. That means a major chunk of your life you have devoted in your service. So Aviram was an old servant in Mriganko Babu's place. For 20 long years he had been serving Mriganko Babu's family. Aviram had worked for family 20 years. Everyone trusted him. However, one day he seemed to have lost his head. So everyone had trusted him means with the passage of time he had been able to build the trust. Okay, the people of his family, the members of his family had full faith in Aviram. Trust is built with time, isn't it? And Aviram was able to do that. He had been able to win the trust of the people of the family, and everyone believed him. But one day, an incident took place, okay, and everyone in the family thought that he had lost his head. That means he had become mad. He didn't used to behave like that previously. So, what was that incident? He stole the gold watch Mriganko Babu had been given as a wedding gift. Aviram denied the charge, of course, but he had both the time and the opportunity to remove the object. Okay, so Aviram denied the charge. Means what happens is, students, one day, okay, Mriganko Babu's gold watch got stolen. Mriganko Babu's gold watch, and everyone suspected Aviram, and it had been his wedding gift. So the gold watch was a very special object for Mriganko Babu. It was a gold watch, and on top of that, it was a wedding gift for him. But one day, that gold watch got stolen. Aviram denied the charge. Aviram said that he had not done it. He denied the charge that was put on him, that was heaped on him to remove the object. But he had both the time and the opportunity to remove the object. But no one believed in him. Why? Because he had got the time, he had got the opportunity, the situation was not in his favor. Everyone thought that he had stolen it because he had got that opportunity. The day was like that, which gave him, in fact, the opportunity, the time to steal the object very skillfully. So no one believed in him. When Mriganko Babu's father called the local witch doctor, who cast a spell and made an ordinary wicker tray spin and rotate until it stopped, pointing at Aviram, could possibly be no doubt about his guilt. Aviram lost his job. And on top of that, what happened? Everyone in his family suspected Aviram. And on top of that, Mriganko Babu's father called in a witch doctor. Okay, witch doctor in our words we say tantric. And this shows that Mriganko Babu's father was a superstitious person. And many people in today's modern society also they take the help of these people. So the tantric or the witch doctor was called in. Okay, and what he did, he made a tray spin like this wicker tray spin, and ultimately it pointed to Aviram. So this made everyone confirm, everyone believe that the thief was none other than Aviram. Okay, no doubt that he had committed the crime. Aviram lost his job. So ultimately, Aviram had to lose his job. But actually, see, students, there was no concrete proof that Aviram had stolen the watch. Only on the basis of the witch doctor's prediction, Aviram was sent away. He was fired from the job. But do you think, students, it is justified? A person who has spent 20 long years serving in another person's household with a family, okay, working for the family, one fine day, only because they are suspecting something, he's thrown out. What about those 20 years where he had tirelessly given his service to the family? But things happen like this. It's only the weaker section of the society who are exploited, who are crushed down, and who are blamed for anything bad happening in the society. See, when you are in the weaker side, it's very easily to point the finger at you all. Understood? Now, even if any other member of the family had stolen the watch, no one would suspect them. Only because Aviram was the servant, he belongs to the lower strata of the society, he belongs to a weaker section of the society, he will be pointed out by everyone. Okay, this is in the nature of the people of our society, which is not good at all. Even if you are poor, you may not be a thief. Okay, it's not that poor people, weak people, okay, drivers, servants, they will be always the thief. It's not that. And it is the fact that many people who belong to the higher strata of the society, they also have these qualities, these bad traits in them. But who is going to explain? Even that person, Mriganko Babu, who is a prominent writer, who is a popular person, okay, who is not superstitious at all, that person also believed in the witch doctor's prediction. And without any hesitation, they sent Aviram from the job. Okay, he had to lose his job. He was fired from his job. It was really a very ruthless affair. Okay, and that is what Aviram was trying to tell, that I was innocent, means he had not stolen the watch. Why didn't you believe me? That was a pain in his heart. Why Mriganko Babu did not believe in him? What did you learn? Then he said, do you know what happened to me after I left? After I left means after I left your job. Do you know what happened to me? He now asked, I never worked anywhere else. I couldn't because I fell ill. That is a pathetic story. Aviram after losing his job at Mriganko Babu's place. Aviram was telling that after I lost a job, I couldn't get any job because I was ill. I couldn't in fact work. What happened to me? See, just see, I never worked anywhere. Your family was the last one where I rendered my services. Because I was ill, I got dropsy. Underline students, dropsy is the name of a disease. And it became serious. The disease took a serious form. But I had no money to go to a doctor or buy medicines or even eat properly. So pathetic, so sorrowful. Aviram was telling his sad story. Okay, he is depicting his sad story, relating his sad story before Mriganko Babu, and he's telling that after I was victimized by the disease dropsy. I was really shattered. He didn't have money to go to a good doctor. He didn't have money to buy medicine, and he was totally suffering in the disease. He couldn't even eat properly also. I never recovered. He never recovered from his disease. That means ultimately, because of the disease, what happened? What does this line indicate? This line indicates that the disease ultimately led to his demise. The disease led to his death. It is because of dropsy that he had to lose his life. My son kept this shirt. He wore it for some time, then it got torn. Mriganko Babu is telling that I died. Aviram is conveying the message that because of that disease, he had to lose his life. And then his son wore this. Means the shirt that he was wearing is referring to the shirt that was given to him by Mriganko Babu. And after his that, he's telling that my son wore this, okay, for some time. Then it got torn. After that, it got torn. Now, see, students, again here, just I'm showing the difference between the rich and the poor people. Generally, in our custom, what happens when a person dies, all his clothes are either burnt away or it is given to some poor people. Okay, the family members generally do not wear the clothes of the dead person, but these customs, traditions are meaningless when a person is poor. Okay, will he be able to uphold the customs and traditions even a person doesn't get to eat properly? Huh? In fact, first is your basic needs. If you can satisfy the basic needs, then only you can think about the customs and traditions. Here's the same thing. Mriganko Babu's shirt given to Aviram. Okay, it was not burnt with his dead body. Okay, why? Because his son needed the shirt. In the people of death strata, you cannot burn everything with the dead person because those things have more utility. Those things that they have to be used more and more due to the poverty. Same thing happened. Mriganko Babu's shirt given to Aviram was worn by his son, Aviram's sons, after his death. Aviram died, but the shirt was there. It was a good shirt, in fact. So Aviram's son wore it. But after his son wore it, it got torn. One day it has to get torn, isn't it? It got torn. So it became something a scarecrow could wear. And I became that scarecrow. So then what happened after it got torn? The shirt was tucked into the scarecrow. So first the shirt was worn by Aviram. After his death, his son wore the shirt. And third time, the shirt was given to the scarecrow. It was tucked on the scarecrow. It had become a dress for the scarecrow. And I became that scarecrow. So just see the sequence of the events. It's not that the scarecrow's Aviram's soul was there in the scarecrow and then the shirt was tucked into it. First, Aviram's shirt was tucked into the scarecrow. Okay, then Aviram's soul came into that scarecrow. Okay, it started residing in that scarecrow. Why? Because that shirt originally belonged to him. Okay, do you know why? Because I knew that one day I could meet you. My heart longed. Yes, even a dead man can have a heart. To tell you what I learned after that. So Aviram is telling that, why I became the scarecrow? What was the reason behind that? Because I knew that one day I would meet you again. See, he had died, but his soul was restless. Okay, his soul could not rest in peace. He wanted to justify his innocence. He wanted to convey some message to Mriganko Babu. And with the hope that he'd get to meet Mriganko Babu again, he became the scarecrow. That was the reason why his soul resided in the scarecrow. And it was very convenient. The scarecrow was on the side of the road. And Aviram knew everything about Mriganko Babu. He had spent 20 years there. He knew that Mriganko Babu often used to make journeys. So he was very sure that one day, someday at least, he's going to meet Mriganko Babu. So he became the scarecrow. Okay, and my heart longed means my heart desired. Yes, even a dead man can have a heart. Just imagine, students, he's telling no one is around. Mriganko Babu's all alone, and Aviram, in the scarecrow in the form of Aviram, coming and telling him, dead man also has a heart. A dead man talking to him. To tell you what I learned after that. I learned something after that, and I want to tell you that. Aviram was telling. What did you learn, Aviram? Now the fear had effaced away from Mriganko Babu's eyes. Initially he was so terrified, but now he was so involved in the conversation. He was trying to know the truth. Okay, it was as if he was talking to that same Aviram 3 years back, Aviram who used to stay in their house. Okay, the normal man. He was talking like that without any hesitation. So he's posing the question, what did you learn, Aviram? What did you learn after that? When you go home tonight, look under your wardrobe. That's where you will find your watch, pushed to the back. It had been lying there. Okay, so Aviram is giving him some information. It had been lying there uh, for the last 3 years. Just imagine. Aviram is telling that tonight when you go home, you look under your wardrobe. You'll be shocked to see that your gold watch, which has been missing for 3 years and for which I had to lose my job, I was convicted of committing a crime, of being a thief, and for which ultimately I had to lose my life. That watch is lying there. For the 3 years, it has been lying under your wardrobe. Your new servant does not sweep every corner, so he did not find it. So sad. See, Aviram is telling that he was his old servant, your new servant, newly appointed servant. He doesn't do his duty properly. He doesn't sweep the each and every corner, nook and corner of the house, and that is why what happens, he has not found it out. But that watch is there. You go home and search for it. When you get it back, you will know that Aviram was not a thief. If you get the gold watch, you will realize that what Aviram actually was, that your poor servant was not a thief, he was an honest man. Okay, so this is the information given by Aviram to Mriganko Babu. Very sad. Okay, now you realize, students, why Aviram had become a scarecrow, because there was his heart was filled with, okay, his heart was filled with injustice. Okay, his mind was tormenting. Okay, he could not get the peace of mind, and he wanted to get the justice. He may be poor, but he wanted to get the justice even after his death, and that is why he was restless, and he wanted to meet Mriganko Babu and relate the truth before him. Then only his soul could rest in peace. The figure of Aviram became hazy. Slowly it became unclear. It was already quite dark. Mriganko Babu heard his voice no more. Aviram's voice was heard no longer. Now I have found peace. After so many years, at last I have been able to tell you the truth. Oh, it's such a relief. Goodbye, Babu, I must go. These are the last words spoken by Aviram. Inverted commas are there. So Aviram was telling Mriganko Babu, after his favor was slowly becoming hazy, and from a distance is telling, goodbye, Babu, goodbye, Mriganko Babu. I have now found peace. Now I will be able to rest in peace. At last I have been able to convey the truth to you. Goodbye, Babu, I must go. So the soul's duty has been performed. For the reason why Aviram's soul was wandering here and there, resting in the Scarecrow, ultimately it got justice. Okay, Mriganko Babu's message to Mriganko Babu was ultimately conveyed. So his purpose was served. His purpose of becoming a Scarecrow was ultimately served. Aviram disappeared before Mriganko Babu's eyes. So this is how it happens, isn't it? The figure disappears, ultimately disappeared before Mriganko Babu's eyes. He was a good soul student. All souls are not bad. The soul had not come to harm Mriganko Babu. It had just come to tell its pathetic tale. And it really makes everyone sad. Aviram disappeared before Mriganko Babu's eyes. I have brought the petrol, sir. Whose words? Sudhir's. He has come back. The sound of Sudhir's voice woke Mriganko Babu up. He had fallen asleep in the car, thinking of a suitable plot for a story. In his hand, he still held his pen. Now you realize, students, all this while Mriganko Babu had been sleeping. Okay, he was sleeping. Remember, he after reading the detective novel, when he found it difficult to concentrate, he thought of jotting down the points. So he went to the car. It was then and there that he fell into a slumber. Okay, and all this was a dream. This spooky affair, it was everything, it was everything of it was a dream actually. Okay, and now when Sudhir came, on hearing Sudhir's voice, Mriganko Babu wakes up. He had fallen asleep. In his hand, he still held his pen. That is the proof. As soon as he opened his eyes, he glanced quickly at the Scarecrow. It was still standing in the distance exactly as he had seen it before. So, immediately as he woke up, because he had seen a dream, and he felt as if it was a reality, and his eyes were again focused on the Scarecrow. When he got up, he again looked at the distance and he saw that Scarecrow was standing exactly where it was there where he had seen it before. On reaching home, Mriganko Babu went straight to his room. So that affair ended there. Sudhir came and they continued their return journey. Ultimately, they reached home. But on reaching home, Mriganko Babu went straight to his room and searched under his wardrobe as in his dream Aviram had told him. Although it was a dream, still Mriganko Babu thought, why not have a look at, okay, why not do a search? So he searched under the wardrobe and he had no difficulty in finding his watch. Strange enough, he had really found the watch. He decided that if something ever got stolen from his house, from now on he would never seek a witch doctor's help. But that made him really feel guilty. It's not written here, but you can imagine how guilty Mriganko Babu must have felt, because Aviram was accused of a crime that he had never committed, and it ultimately led to his death. Although it was a dream, but he could correlate, he could think, yes, he could correlate that actually Aviram must have died. So his shirt was, that shirt really belonged to Aviram. Okay, and he felt very sad and he made a promise. He got determined, he was resolved then and there that even if anything gets stolen in their house, the future is never going to take a witch doctor's help. So it is only because of the superstitious belief that such an injustice had taken place. Okay, he made a trustworthy, or you may say he made an honest man a victim, and that was a very tormenting affair for everyone. It tormented, it really embraced Mriganko Babu, and it also brought havoc to Aviram's family, Aviram's mind, and it really disrupted Aviram's life. Okay, although it was a dream, but still this must have been the reality, because once a person loses a job, generally people belonging to the lowest strata of the society, okay, people no longer keep trust on them and they find it difficult, isn't it? And they really suffer a lot. Don't think that they don't have emotions, they also have emotions, but it was something which was greatly injustice which was done, and it was only because of the superstitious belief. They believed in the witch doctor, and for that Aviram had to lose the job. So students, we come to the end of the chapter, end of the short story. Let's see what is written at the end. Translated by Gopa Majumdar, first published in Bengali in 1987. All this information is important. Actually, it was written in Bengali originally by Satyajit Ray, but it was translated to English by a lady named Gopa Majumdar, and it was first published in Bengali in 1987. So students, we have come to know that now after coming to the end of the story, now you can realize how beautifully the story is written down. The plot is so beautifully conceived by the author Satyajit Ray, and it really becomes difficult to demarcate between the dream and the reality. Okay, the dream that Aviram Mriganko Babu had, it was so befitting to the particular situation, and his mind was really focused to the Scarecrow, and that is why he had a dream of the Scarecrow. And now you realize why the title is given the Scarecrow. Who is the Scarecrow? The Scarecrow is none other than the old servant in Mriganko Babu's house. His name is Aviram, who was done injustice. Okay, and ultimately the Scarecrow, appearing as a human being in the dream of Mriganko Babu, tells the truth, conveys the truth, and Aviram has got justice. Okay, although they don't meet each other, but at least in their hearts, in Mriganko Babu's family, everyone, after finding the gold watch, everyone's disbelief, or you may say the cloud of suspicion which was there on projected on Aviram, okay, that disbelief will be faded away, and from their hearts all those ill feelings for Aviram will be effaced away, and everyone will develop the trust which already existed for Aviram. See, that is why what happens even after death, many people take the form of ghost, you may say, and ultimately they want to get the justice. So that justice is a very important thing. If you don't commit a crime, and if you are accused falsely, that really pains a person. And a person wants to get the justice. If you do a crime and you are convicted for that, it's okay. But if you don't do something and you are falsely accused of that, that really pains the heart. And especially these things happen with the lowest section of the society. Understood? So students, today we have come to the end of the story. The characters that we have met: Aviram, Mriganko Babu, Sudhir. Yes, and the place was where the story took place. Now we can tell that the place was exactly Mankar, and it was between Durgapur and Kolkata. So I'll take one more class. In short, we'll discuss the question answers, and I will tell you something in brief about dreams. Okay, how dreams and realities, sometimes the thin line of demarcation between dreams and reality, that thin line sometimes is is blurring, okay, and you are unable to distinguish between what is dream and what is reality. And how can you interpret dreams? Why we have certain dreams when we go to sleep, sometimes nightmare, sometimes good dreams. All this, if we get time, we will have a short discussion. Thank you, students. So as I have come to the end of the chapter, I sincerely hope, I earnestly hope that you go through the chapter. It's a very simple chapter written by an Indian author. Generally, the writings of Indian authors are very simple. Okay, very simple. There's nothing that you would not understand. Even if I had not taught the lesson to you all, you could have easily understood the language of Satyajit Ray. Just is that you have to remember the facts and figures, remember the story, and you try to compose the answers. Thank you, students. All of you have a good day ahead.